Welcome to another segment of today's Community Spotlight, where we put the spotlight on all things positive in the community. Today we're putting the spotlight on literature, and my distinguished guest is author Cedric Boyd, here to tell us about his debut writing adventures. Welcome, Cedric.
Well, thank you, Elva. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for coming to share your story with us. As I said, we're about all things positive, and literature is always a positive thing, and it's my favorite topic to discuss is books. So we're going to be discussing your books, your ebook,
Awesome.
Randall Whitmore, and your paperback, The Good Wolf. But before we get into the books, just tell our viewers a little bit about you, the person, the man. Who is Cedric Boyd for those who don't know you?
Okay, my name is Cedric Boyd, like she said, like Elva said. I went to college in Missouri. I got a basketball scholarship, and then I left and came back on a track scholarship. So I kind of bounced around. Got my degree in sociology with a criminal justice minor. I got married.
Was the track scholarship back in Missouri too?
Same school, yeah, strangely enough. Yeah.
But you're from here?
Yes, I'm from Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
From Sacramento,
yeah.
Schooled in Missouri. Got it.
Schooled in Missouri, yeah. Missouri State, not University of Missouri. My frat
Basketball,
brother,
Missouri State, okay.
Yes, ma'am. That was around 1987. I graduated in 92. I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma Incorporated. Actually, one of my frat brothers at University of Missouri is Jonathan Butler, the young man that that went on the hunger strike, and the football players followed him. And yeah, I was back there last year, and all the guys at
He was
Missouri
in college
State.
with you?
No, he's same fraternity.
Okay.
Yeah, but at University of Missouri Columbia.
Okay.
So a lot of the guys at Missouri State know him, and we're very supportive towards him.
So that's something that's important to you, that helped you through college?
Yeah, it did.
As being part of a Greek organization?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were our not founders, but our charter members was like around 89, and I pledged in 91. So
okay, so you were in the first wave.
Yeah, I was in the first
Sigmas
wave.
at your school.
Yeah,
Nice,
absolutely.
nice.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been married about 15 years to Jamie Boyd.
Right, she's adorable.
She
Met
is
her.
adorable. I am a fan.
Jamie. You better be. You have to say
that's
that.
Right. That's right.
Good.
Yeah, so we've been married about 15 years, very happily married.
Kids?
No children, no. Play a lot of golf, you know.
That's
I haven't been playing enough lately.
That's a good sign of a bond when people are together for years without kids.
Right. We don't have a reason to be together except we just love each other.
Except you just want to.
Absolutely.
Right. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
And you guys play golf together?
No, we don't play golf
play
together.
golf? You play golf?
I play golf.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
If we play golf together, we'd probably be divorced. So it's probably a good idea. Need a break from each other, you know.
Okay.
But no, seriously, it's been great. I'm very happy.
Okay, appreciate
I can't
you
complain.
sharing your personal stuff. So it's a little bit about Cedric Boyd, the man. He's from Sacramento, got a little bit of Southern flavor, school in Missouri, proud Sigma man, and happily married for years.
Very happily married.
Cool. So tell me about, let's get to the writing. Tell me about writing. Did you always know you were a writer, or did you always want to be an author?
I never wanted to write. I wanted to be a professional athlete. It's interesting. I've told the story on a few shows, but I'm going to tell it again. When I was in the 8th grade, my English teacher, we had an assignment about describing the inside of a turkey, and she immediately called my mom when I described it and wrote it. She said, "Cedric described the inside of a turkey better than anybody I've ever had in my classes, and he's a writer."
Descriptive.
Right. And my mom said, well, he doesn't want to write, he wants to play basketball. You know, so I guess it's something I always could do, but
a talent you had. Took you a while to tap into it.
Took me a while. My mom actually kind of forced me into tapping into it. She was working on a book called Sex Out of Wedlock.
Oh, okay.
It was about how her and my father met, you know, in LA back in the 60s. And she was
when
struggling.
that might have been taboo or right on the verge of being okay.
Right. You know, she was a young woman from the South, you know, a little overwhelmed in the city, and met a city slicker like my father, you know. And
So when did you said you helped her write her story? What
around
year was that?
2010.
Okay.
About 2010, 2011.
And that jump started you into writing.
It did. It went it flowed really well. Everybody loved the book. They thought that she wrote the whole thing. They couldn't tell that I had anything to do with it because I had to write through her.
Good.
You know, so, and it was easy. You know, so.
Because you know the writer, you know the story.
I know the writer and I know the story, and evidently it's just easy for me to write.
Okay.
You know.
Like you said, you were young. It's a talent that you had.
Right.
You didn't tap into it.
Right.
Sometimes we have talents that we don't manifest early on, but they're still there.
Right.
So.
They don't
Did
go
you
anywhere.
have writers that you admired? You said it always came easy for you to write. Were there books or a particular author or genre that you liked?
Not so much. I would kind of describe my writing.
No author, no genre that you'd like to read?
Not really. I was more into music and sports. So when I wrote The Good Wolf and when I wrote, when I worked on Sex Out of Wedlock and Randall Whitmore, I always think about my favorite musicians, like their albums. Like I would equate Sex Out of Wedlock to Inner Visions because I was listening to that a lot when I was working on it.
Okay.
And you know how Stevie, it's beautifully one song supposed to be after the other, and I just thought about that cadence, just one song being right after another, and it had to flow like an album.
So you like to pace yourself rhythmically, like music.
The music, I try to keep a cadence in my head when I need to go up, when I need to go down.
But that's pretty interesting. You take one art form to help you manifest and develop your art form.
Right.
From music to help you writing, that's good.
Well, you know, they put the albums together a little different now, but before there was a lot of thought into the order. The order. Golden Lady had to be right after Living for the City. It just it had to be in that order, you know. And so when I wrote The Good Wolf, I thought more about Songs in the Key of Life because it's 2 books.
Okay.
You know, so
like 2 books, 2 albums.
Right, 2 books, 2 albums. So I tried to put it in a, in an order where it grabs your attention at the beginning, but it lets up and then it grabs you again, but you're always engaged.
That order you're talking about that you're flowing as far as verses with music, you're talking about your chapters.
Yes.
They flow.
Each chapter is a song. Okay. Absolutely. And
so your story is a song. I can relate.
Yeah.
I can relate because they have rhythmic, they have peaks and valleys, high points, and they eventually end. Right.
Absolutely.
Good. And so you said you don't have a particular author, but you're musically inspired when you're writing. Stevie Wonder, any other musicians?
Marvin Gaye. I'd say Marvin Gaye because he's so honest.
Okay.
You know, inner city blues and what's going on. You know, he was really.
Oh yeah.
It was really high. And
I can appreciate any artist who puts their mess out there.
Right.
Let you see them high.
Right.
Let you see them a mess.
Right.
Let you see them heartbroken. I feel they're trustworthy.
Right.
People can show you their raw pain.
Right.
So that's cool.
That's when the truth comes out.
Right.
You know.
Right. And in stories, you want to be able to, because everybody experiences some love, some hurt, some disappointment, some pain. You're going to cry. You want to be able to relate to that and the characters in the story and to follow the story. If it's supposed to make you laugh or cry.
Absolutely. It's got to be from the heart.
Or arouse you. So let's start by talking about your books. Tell me about, which book did you write first, The Good Wolf or Randall?
I wrote The Good Wolf first.
When was that?
And that was 2012.
Okay. So tell me about the journey of The Good Wolf. What inspired you to write this story, and what genre would you put it in? And give us a little bit, because this is the story I've read. I've read it, but I'd like for you to share with the audience the journey of The Good Wolf.
Okay. Well, let me tell you where my head was. My father died maybe a year before that, and it really affected me. And he's a man. He made a lot of mistakes. He's a human being. And, he did some things that he probably wished he could get back.
Right, done we all.
We've all done stuff, you know. And I found that this story was pretty consistent with a lot of the fathers that I knew, that, you know, maybe they put their flesh before their children at times or before their marriage. And I wanted to write a character that was very much like that, not married, but kind of
relatable.
Absolutely.
Relatable to the average guy who's got some flaws, who isn't married, but might have some moral issues,
might have some
moral gauges
absolutely,
that to him seem okay, but that might not be so okay to another.
And to him, they're not even okay, you know.
Right,
but
right.
He,
and
but, you know
then sometimes we battle within ourselves with things we do. We know it might not be okay, but we do it anyway because we get we justify what we really want to do.
We just feed that flesh and we let it, you know, we let it control us.
That's very raw and open of you to say that this story was inspired by your father's life and you know, the good and many different lives. And many fathers' lives. So tell me about the cover. I'm going to leave that one there and let's just pull this one because there's some pretty interesting symbolism going on here on the cover. There's a half of a wolf's face. It's all black and white. There's one red eye. There's a couple little curly Q symbols in there. Tell us about the cover. Does it mean anything, or is that just? I
will explain it to you. It does mean stuff. The gentleman that did this cover, his name is Carlin Skinner. He's a graphic design artist. He was a professor at, he was an instructor at Arizona State. And I've known him a long time. And he moved to California and moved in with me and my wife because he started working at Apple.
Okay.
So he's a professional graphic designer, and he kind of told me the thought process behind the cover. These two symbols right here, I do not worship the devil, okay? These are the wolf's ears.
Okay.
And this is his chin.
Ah, okay.
So he wanted it to be similar to the cover. Now the cover is interesting. You know, he's an expert in marketing and design, so he said he wanted the cover to, regardless of how big it was, if you shrunk it down, you still would know this is my book. You could put it on a postage stamp, and it's so, I guess, original. It's kind of like a Nike symbol. Like, no matter how big you make a Nike symbol, you still know it's a Nike symbol. Okay.
Yeah. And is there any symbolism to the half of the wolf's face on the cover?
Well, the symbolism is that he wanted a really subtle wolf.
Okay.
You know, I kind of talked to him. I wanted the wolf to growl a little more, and he's like, no, because he's a good wolf.
Okay.
You know, you can see his nose kind of snarling there.
Right.
One tooth here.
Okay.
He's still a wolf.
You know, he's a wolf. He's still a predator. He's still dangerous. So tell us a little bit about this title. I know I've read the book. So tell us about the good wolf, bad wolf symbolism, where that title comes from, what it means.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll get right on into the story.
Well, I was working at a juvenile hall maybe like 5-6 years ago, and they were having Narcotics Anonymous, and they told the good wolf, bad wolf story. I'm not sure if your audience is familiar with it, but I'll kind of
just tell it as if they aren't.
Okay, great. Okay, well, there's a native elder was speaking to his grandson, and he told him inside him 2 wolves live. One is vicious and mean and angry and selfish, and one is kind and, you know, loving and giving. And the grandchild asked him, the elder said, one day these 2 wolves got in a fight.
Okay.
And the grandchild asked him, well, which wolf won? And he told him, well, whichever one you feed. So that's when this was years before I even wrote the book.
I like it.
You know, so that story stuck in my head, and I was like, if I ever do anything, this is before I even wrote my mom's book, you know, worked on my mom. I was like, if I ever do anything, you know, I'm going to keep that story in my head, and so it
paraphrases our own consciousness.
Absolutely.
We make the choice to either be good, evil's a choice.
Right.
You choose to either be evil or either be good.
And good is a choice.
And good is a choice, evil is a choice. Nobody's just an evil person.
No.
You either choose or practice one or the other.
Right.
And the Native American proverb goes that they're always at war with each other because they don't exist together. They're opposites. So they're always inside of you battling. And one is eventually will win.
Exactly.
But it's the one that you feed.
Right, the one that you feed.
You feed the love and starve the evil, or you feed the evil and starve the good.
Right,
It'll show which wolf you are.
The Bible says you cannot have two masters.
Right,
you will
right.
love one and you will hate the other. And that's also why the book.
Or you'll have schizophrenia.
Right, anyway. Exactly. Or you'll go crazy. Like the back of the book says, you'll go crazy trying to do what you want and do what's right. And that's why the book is written this way, and that's why Carlin designed it this way: the good wolf on the back and the bad wolf on the front, but it says good wolf.
Right.
So there was a lot that went into it
I like
when he
it.
explained it to me.
I like it. Good. So tell us about the story. What made you decide to write it? What I know you were inspired by writing your mom's story. What I know it had some family relationships that you could draw on. What pushed you from thought
what pushed
to
me
book?
to thought to book? Well, actually, I was working the night shift at my job, and I was a supervisor at the time. So I was in the office, and I was working 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And there really isn't anything to do in a juvenile hall from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So except be tired, So instead of getting fired, I decided I was gonna just start writing a book. And
hopefully, you didn't get fired for writing your book
yeah,
on your other job.
Exactly.
Okay.
But some people watch TV; they're doing the,
right. So
they're not doing anything.
Yeah,
I'm,
so it was
I'm doing
okay.
something constructive.
Your conscience felt clear.
Absolutely,
you were feeding the good wolf.
absolutely.
Good.
And I was tired, so I was vulnerable. I don't take drugs, I don't drink or anything. So I had
Not
to get
even
to
coffee?
that place. No. So I had to get to that place where my guard is completely let down, and the only way I could get there was by being tired, completely exhausted, and just whatever was coming on that page was what was going to come on there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's got some juicy erotic scenes in here, which you can't tell from looking at the
cover. Of the book.
I personally like an erotica that does not tell on you by the cover. That I can read in an airport without looking like
the dude with his
freak walking down
shirt
Concourse
off,
C.
on a horse.
But some people will criticize that. Other people like a visual book. They want to see something erotic on the cover to inspire them to read the inside. So tell me some juicier parts of the story, and then we'll read a little bit from it. We'll have you read a little bit from it.
Well, what's fun is I didn't really think it was that erotic until people started really telling me. They're like, man,
you get to dropping those 4-letter words and describing body parts like that. That's erotica.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, it's funny because I thought all guys kind of lived like that. You know what I mean? I really did. And then one of my friends, one of my homegirls, I mentioned her in the book, she said, Cedric, maybe all your friends lived like that or lived like that because maybe they're all wolves. You know what I mean? So I didn't look at it that way. I just thought this was like kind of standard operating procedure for the guys,
Right. Yeah, and it's true. If you see one thing, you take it as the norm.
Right. And if you see a lot of it around you,
it seems as the norm.
It's like I thought this is what everybody did.
Right. I'm working on a story, and a character does not believe that there are men who exist who don't beat women, because she's never known or seen any in her life, and she's never known or seen any women who didn't get beat. So to her, they just don't exist.
Right.
So of course she's conditioned to accept it. So.
Well, that's kind of the same.
What you see is normal behavior you
absolutely
jump into. Not to go to a dark place.
But it's okay.
Anyway.
But what's interesting is that you say that. It's like I had a hard time when I first got married because I'd never seen a happy marriage.
Oh.
So I didn't really
think they.
Yeah, I was like, well, we'll be married a few years and we'll probably get a divorce, and I really thought like that, and I was. And until my wife kind of took me to church and I saw other couples that were actually happy, I was like, okay, this exists. They're not unicorns.
Okay.
Yeah. All I know is divorce.
Well, you don't say, huh?
And aggravation. But once I was like, okay, these people really, they do exist.
Okay.
So that helped me quite a bit.
So right now, I'd like for you to read a little bit from The Good Wolf. And you set us up to the scene you're about to read from.
Okie doke.
Okay.
This scene was written, Let me give you a little background on the scene. I was writing that night, and I Googled my father's name, and this was after he'd already passed away. He'd been dead for about 16, 17 months. And his face popped up on the, like when I was Googling him, which I wasn't expecting, you know. So it was the picture that we put in his obituary. And, you know, you shouldn't cry at work, but I started crying.
Right.
You know, and that's when I started to put him in the book. You notice he's at the end of the book. And I kind of went through the feelings and the emotions I had when I found out, you know, like his heart. And
hard to write about a lost loved one.
Right. It's very difficult, but
it brings back up all those feelings of grief and loss.
But I was in an honest place, and I said, I could sit here and cry and pout about it, or I could channel it into, you know, into what I'm doing here, you know. And I felt like, you know, like God just kind of popped it up there for me, for me to do it. So
that's what we're going to read.
We are going to read.
I'm going to follow along. You're going to read. Nothing like hearing the author read his own words. Okay,
we'll start on page 296. This is when Randall, the character Randall, finds out that something's wrong with his father.
Yeah.
And he's on the golf course, of course. And he gets a call from his mom.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll pick it up there. Hey, Mom, what's up? Where are you? Her voice sounded really concerned. I'm playing around. Is everything cool? It's your father. You need to get here right now. You're scaring me, Mom. What's going on with Dad? I'll tell you when you get here. It's his heart, son. It's his heart, son. I'll never forget that sentence as long as I live. How could anything be wrong with this man's heart? This man was all heart. He rode his bike to work 20 miles every day so Mom could go to school. He walked a minimum of 10 miles a day after he retired. This man was a rock. But like most men of his generation, he lived hard, drank hard, ran hard, worked hard, and played hard. Maybe a little too hard with the women, if you know what I mean. But that was expected from men of his generation and tolerated somewhat by the wives, and my mom was no different. They kind of had a don't stick it in my face and I'll let it slide policy. Unfortunately, like most men, he took it too far and has a couple of marks on his body that are unaccounted for, courtesy my mom. I'm on my way, Mom. I'll fly into Oakland and have Cleo pick me up. What hospital is he at? Just come home first and we will go over there together, okay? Whatever you say, Mom, it's going to be all right. I love you. I love you too, son. Get here when you can. This must be serious. My mom said, I love you. You don't understand. This woman just doesn't say that. I know she loves me, but she comes from a background where that kind of spoiling just isn't tolerated. You had to be tough. Her parents didn't say it to her, and she didn't say it to us. Did I mention I had a brother in jail? We are complete opposites. I'll get to him later, but right now I need to see about my father.
Nice. A lot of content in those 2 pages. So you got Randall. We don't want to tell the whole story.
We don't want to tell the whole story.
Because you want people to read the book.
Right,
but you
absolutely.
got Randall getting a call from his mom, hearing about his dad, worrying about his dad. You're getting a little background in there about Dad. Yeah, he was a good guy. He worked hard, took care of families, might have did some things that any other man did and were tolerated getting away with it.
Right.
I like how you said that, well, didn't really like, but how these wives knew these things but tolerated it.
Right.
But, you know, I read a little further, and Mama don't really take that mess.
No, Mama don't really.
She don't really tolerate that.
Right.
And I'll leave it there.
Right.
So that's a good one. So that's a good book. So we'll tell people where they can get your books and where you'll be reading and sharing your books. But let's talk a little bit, while we still have time, about your second book, your ebook.
Randall Whitmore, okay. Randall Whitmore is the lead character in this book, and it is the sequel to The Good Wolf. All the questions that have been asked in Randall Whitmore, all the curiosity, excuse me, in The Good Wolf, will be answered in Randall Whitmore.
So the sequel, Randall Whitmore is a sequel to this book titled after the main character.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's only on ebook?
It's only on ebook right now.
Available right now.
Yeah, I will be.
And is it a short story? Is it a full-length novel?
It's a full-length novel.
Okay.
Yep. For about 300 pages. This one's like 362. So.
Okay. Paperback coming.
Paperback coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now, we're just kind of focusing on The Good Wolf, and we'll go from there.
And without giving up too much about The Good Wolf, can you lead us a little bit into Randall Whitmore? Tell us the synopsis, what it's about. What can we expect in the sequel?
In the sequel, you know, in this one, Randall Whitmore, you know, he runs around. He's got a lot of ladies, but the other shoe falls in the other book. Randall's got to grow up. You know, there's a lot of men that are in their 30s and 40s and 50s and still living like they're in their 20s. You know, and
now how old is Randall Whitmore in the sequel?
He's like 34, 35.
Which is a good age to kind of like be settling down your like, sexual maturity and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
especially been married a while, got some kids. It's good time.
Like,
that's good because some people don't get it.
No, they don't get it.
Not at 35, 45, and
55.
And I see this with people living healthier. Now I see people in their 50s and 60s still looking like they're in their 30s. So they're acting
like they're
very immature instead of wise because they got a lot more health and strength and stamina than they did. You know,
and stupidity.
And so you see a lot of people not really settling down so much. But if he caught it in his mid-30s, it's good to come to your senses when you're a young man.
Well, you know, when you're in your mid-30s, you're definitely not old, but you're not young anymore.
That's young.
Yeah, but you're not. But you're old enough. You're old enough to look around, and see like, wait a minute, where am I going with this thing? You know, where am I going to end up like my father? Am I going to end up like everybody else's dad? You know, am I going to get married? And you know, what I mean, am I going to grow up? You know, and I see a lot of guys that just. You know, still chasing and running, and I'm like, man.
So Randall Whitmore is growing up a little bit.
He's growing up.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We'll leave it at that. Good. Thank you. So tell me about any upcoming events that you're having, any events that you're speaking at. What are you doing other than writing? Any other?
My calendar's pretty open. I have a talk show on Access Sacramento entitled The Good Wolf with Cedric Boyd. I've had a couple of episodes on.
And when does that show come on?
It's random because I don't have a slotted time slot yet. So I'll always post it on my Facebook page, Cedric J. Boyd. I'll post them on YouTube. You know,
so do this. So this seems like a good time to give our viewers your contact information and email where to contact you. Your Facebook, Twitter handles where they can find out about your upcoming events and how to purchase the books or review the books. So
well, the book is available always on Amazon.com, the paperback and the ebook. The ebook for Randall Whitmore is also available on Amazon. It's hard. I had it in a few stores, but they sold out. Thank goodness. You know, they sold out. You can get in contact with me at Cedric Boyd J, CEDRIC BOYDJ @gmail.com. You can also, my Twitter handle is Cedric J. Boyd, so at Cedric J. Boyd with Twitter. Facebook is also Cedric J. Boyd.
Instagram,
Google
Plus.
I have Instagram, Pinterest. But I forgot what it was. You know, so I don't use it very often. Yeah, and if you want the book, you want me to do, I do a lot of book shows. If you want me to come and do, I know I'm going to do one for the Oakland Page Turners.
Nice. You know, that's us.
So,
that's our book club.
Yeah,
so we'll be having a nice one.
So we'll have a long. The book clubs are always interesting. Because the women say a lot of stuff that I wasn't really ready for them to say.
I call the book clubs the sexy part of the job. Because writers, most of the time, you're by yourself, you work by yourself, you create by yourself, and every once in a while, you get to interact with people who just love books.
And
so
they love
the book
your
clubs,
book,
the book fairs,
Yeah,
that's the sexy part of being an author. Other than that, it can be pretty solitary.
It's pretty, it's pretty lonely work.
But let me just recap your communication. So Cedric Boyd J at gmail.com is where you can find the books directly from the author. That's how you get an autographed copy. Or if you're an ebook reader, they're on Amazon.com. Just Google the author.
You can also get the paper book from Amazon.
You can get the paper book from Amazon, but you don't want them to get it from you?
Either way, I'd prefer that they get it from Amazon.
That's
because
different.
Because it's quite, I got to pay for postage and ship them, and this and that. So that's why I got. But you can, if you get in contact with me, you can absolutely. I will send you a book. Yes.
Amazon.com,
Yes.
Cedric J. Boyd Books, The Good Wolf, Randall Whitmore, Cedric Boyd J at gmail.com,
Yep.
Cedric Boyd, Cedric J. Boyd.
Cedric J. Boyd at
Cedric
Twitter.
Boyd on Twitter and on Facebook. So get in contact with him, read a couple of good books. Good books always make good gifts. And if you want to share an adventure, share a book. So just to wrap it up, my name is Miss Elva, and I'm your hostess. This has been another segment of today's Community Spotlight. If you know an author or have a community event that you'd like us to spotlight, please reach out at today'scommunityspotlight@gmail.com.